Okay, hello there. It's 8 o'clock here in the UK on Wednesday. It's the 7th of February. Can we believe it? So we're already 1 week into February. Although I have to admit, I feel like time has slowed down for me this week. I don't know if it's just me, but bizarrely, I do feel like when I look at the clock, time is going much more slowly than usual, in a good way, because otherwise I don't know how I would have managed to do everything I had on this week. But unfortunately for most of us, I think Father Time isn't that generous in terms of slowing down the clock for us. So that's why I'm here today to talk about how we can make time for specifically growing, launching, and building a business. But I think the principles apply to any big project we want to do, really. So talking about making time, because of course it's about making time rather than saying that we don't have the time, which I think is often an excuse. So my name's Anna Lundberg. Hopefully you all know by now, business strategist and success coach. And I'm really passionate about helping people reimagine success and creating all those F's that I love: the freedom, flexibility, fulfilment, why not financial abundance as well in there, financial independence, security, whatever you want to call it. And part of that, or part of the answer to that, I think, is having your own business. I did a live on the Facebook page earlier today around why I think now is the best time to launch a business. And, technology, the tools that are available, the way society has evolved, there is no better time sort of in terms of the ease with which we can start a business. But then also in terms of wanting to start a business, whether or not you actually want to become an entrepreneur and to have that massive, full-time portfolio career, or be a serial entrepreneur, whatever it is, it's such a great project to have in terms of bringing back that excitement, the sort of eagerness to jump out of bed and do something that really sparks your interest or sparks your joy in the morning, and having that passion project, even something where you become so self-motivated, almost too self-motivated. I don't want to warn you off, but when you love your work, it can easily get like that. So people say, I don't know how I'll find the time, but actually when we find something that we're really motivated to do, we do find that time, and it doesn't feel, suddenly our energy is actually perked up, the opposite from what you might expect in a way. So having a business, the people you meet, the opportunities you create, the ideas, the skills you learn, you wear all these different hats, so many new opportunities and so on. And above all, like I said, the people that you meet and connect with all around the world. So, whether it's a full-time kind of dream of yours to become an entrepreneur or not, which I have to admit it wasn't of mine, but I'm certainly not going to turn back now. Having your own business, is a fantastic thing to do, and looks great on your CV if you're worried about that. Those of my clients who have gone back potentially to a full-time job, or friends of mine, have actually said that in the interview process, the work that they did, the business that they set up during that year off, let's say, has been much more interesting to the recruiter, the hiring manager, than all the other stuff. So actually, it's so respected now, and it's so understood what it means, what it takes to build a business, that's a huge accolade to have on your CV as well, if that is a concern of yours. But as I said, fantastic opportunity, easier than ever before. Of course it's hard, of course it can be scary and so on, but a fantastic time to start. And there is no better time to start now, and it's important to start now because it does take time. And I think I've talked about this before, but it took me years to get my articles published, to get that name out there, to even get comfortable with talking on video like I'm doing now, to write those blog posts, to build the traffic, to begin to be asked onto interviews, and to be a speaker and all these things. And that takes time. So if anything, it's better to start before you're ready and before you feel really confident, and you just start making those explorations really, and experimenting and talking to people, researching, finding out what it is you enjoy. So all that to say is that I'd love for you guys to build and grow your businesses this year. And the question is, how on earth are we going to be able to do that on top of all the other things? So it may be a full-time job. We may have kids and other obligations. We may have to do other part-time work, which we don't love as much, just to bring in that money in the meantime, to have that financial security and the ability then to invest in our businesses. Not to mention all the other things. So I talk about the 5 L's always: the live, love, learn, lead, laugh, the health and well-being, your romance and relationships, learning and growing, and career and impact really comes luckily with the business piece, but then having fun as well, right? So I like to stop working in the evening. These days I like to take the weekends off as well. Definitely recommend taking breaks, getting proper sleep, all those things. Trying to leave the house every day is my goal at the moment. Go for a run, do some HIIT sessions, and so on. And maybe have a time to breathe and to relax and not do anything sometimes as well. So, so much to fit into our calendars. So how on earth are we supposed to make time for this big project? And again, this can apply to any big project really, not just starting a business. But really, as you would expect, coming from me, I like to start with defining what success looks like, of course. So what is your goal? What is it exactly you want to do? And, saying I want to start a business, I want to grow my business, I want to get more clients, or even, in another area, I want to lose weight, I want to do this, that, and the other. It's just too vague. And it could also be, this is just sort of a should. You feel like you should look for something else, you should learn this new skill, whatever it is. And it's so important to know exactly what it is you want to do, and then why you want to do this. Why is it so important? So why are you committed to making it happen? And therefore, why are you going to find a way to make it happen, right? I think often we say we don't have time, but it's really because we don't have the clarity, first of all. That's something I hear a lot from you all. And secondly, we just don't know how as well. But that's the next piece of it. But first of all, start with really specific goals. Understand what you want to achieve and why, and then also understand, what time is required for that, and where do you think you can make the time, in the sense of, building a business, for example, could be half an hour every day, or it could be a couple of hours a week working on a course or a program. It could be, working with a coach, for example, an hour every 2 weeks is what I do with my one-on-one clients. It could be going to some evening activity, some evening course that you have to attend. So some of it might be time specific and so on, but get an idea of how much time you think you would like to spend on this new thing. Consistent action in small doses is so much more powerful than having a one-off blitz and then nothing at all for weeks. If there's something you've identified as being really important in growing a business, if you do that 10 minutes every morning, that's going to have much greater impact than if you just sort of have a big session one weekend and then never do it again. So, for me, writing articles every week, let's say, replying to messages on Facebook and LinkedIn and so on, those are things that I need to be doing every day and that I want to be doing every day, but taking that action consistently. But knowing what those priorities are is the first thing. So breaking down always what it is you want to achieve, why you want to achieve it, and then how much time you think you would like to be able to free up to really make a difference in that area. And the second thing, which is also not surprising perhaps, is to work out where you are today. And there's a tool that I love to use there that somebody recommended years ago called Toggl, TOGGL.com, Toggl, which you can just access on the desktop on a website that has a free tracker that you just click start, you write the project you're working on, whatever it is you're doing, and then you can track and see where you're spending your time during the day. So I'd recommend you do this for everything. So if you can, for a day, for a few days, for a couple of weeks, if you can manage it, you just turn it on every time. Every time you sit down, okay, checking emails, going on to social media, writing article, going into meetings, obviously when it's work and so on, it's quite interesting too. They say that we actually only do 2 or 3 hours of productive work a day. So that's a bit of a shocker when we think that we work, 8 to 10 hour days perhaps, not to mention all those other things we're doing. So the first benefit of tracking is that you're going to see where you are currently spending your time. And the answer may be surprising. And you may find that you're wasting a lot more time than you thought, or you're not spending time on the stuff that's actually making a difference. And there are a few shifts and modifications you want to do there, reprioritizing and balancing. The other benefit of tracking, simply tracking, is going to make you more productive. I can't tell you, if I set that tracker on, of course, I'm not then going to go off and make a cup of coffee or do something else, because the tracker is running and I've said I'm writing an article, so I have to sit here and I have to write that article. So the mere act of tracking, ironically, will make you more productive in itself. Then once you've tracked that, you can look at those reports. It all sounds very scientific and analytical, but you can look at then where you are spending that time. And again, see if there's some surprising elements. You can potentially categorize your activities into, things that you definitely have to do, things that you definitely don't have to do, things that you could do, but also potentially somebody else could do. And then think about how you can reshuffle these things. So even the things that you have to do, can you optimize that a little bit? Can you do it a bit less? Can you get a bit of help, perhaps? Certainly the things that you don't have to be doing, that you, as a business owner, for example, there are things that I really have to do. Talking here to you now, I think it would be odd if I wasn't here talking to you. Writing my articles, I could get someone else to write them, but I love them. Having actual coaching sessions with people, recording the trainings and so on. Those are the things I have to do. But perhaps finance and accounting, some admin stuff, web development work, all those things. Or even personal things like cleaning your house or things like that. Maybe there are things that you can outsource, whether it's via a freelancer website. I use Upwork and Fiverr a lot. Fiverr literally has people from $5, which is fantastic, just to outsource some little things, or actually having an intern or a virtual assistant. There are so many cost-effective ways of doing this now. But really analysing, looking at those different places where you're spending your time and being honest with yourself as well. So first, observe, there's no judgment at all, but then question, if you've got this big vision in mind and you know that it's important to you, but what are you willing to give up as well? So maybe some of that Netflix binge box set watching might have to go. Not go completely, but maybe you don't watch 8 episodes in one weekend sitting, and maybe you find some of those things, for example, that you can cut down on. And again, be creative around finding solutions. Some things like initially I was transcribing all my interviews that I would do on audio video, and I do it really quickly. So I always think, I've got to do it myself. I don't have to do it, but I do it so quickly. Why on earth would I ask someone else? But then I realized, of course, that's not the best use of my time. And I found a website where I pay $1 per minute, which, is pretty affordable and a very high quality result. So it takes a bit of a shift in terms of delegating some of the things, but it's the only way you're going to be able to spend your time on really the stuff that makes a difference. If you already have a business, you need to be working on that business, right? Not in the business. So doing business development, getting more clients, creating that content, connecting and so on, rather than sitting on the back end and doing, excuse the word, we used to say this at my old company, internal masturbation, which is just stuff that nobody else will actually sort of see or get value from. So being more externally focused and so on. So being very ruthless with those types of activities and seeing where you can cut, where you can outsource, where you can eliminate altogether, where you perhaps need to keep it and so on. And then the next thing to do, or something I like to do, is to create your ideal week. And I've got an article about this. I'm going to ping it in the description so you can look at that if you haven't already seen that before. But the idea is that you're going to sit down and you're going to map out in your calendar. And it's going to be personal and professional priorities. You're going to block the time. So there's this idea of time blocking, which you may come across. Block your calendar. So rather than just having a long to-do list, which can easily just get longer and longer, you just add more and more things onto there. Having the actual calendar where you're blocking that time. So I block when I'm getting up in the morning. I'm going to do some HIIT, shower, breakfast. Yes, I know it seems a bit silly, but that's the ideal. Then I might do 2 hours of writing an article, have lunch and so on. So it seems very sort of mundane, but thinking about where things are going to fit in. Going to the gym and running needs to be on there. Picking up your kids from school presumably needs to be on there. Date night can be on there. Netflix binge watching is fine too. If it's in small amounts, it can definitely be on there. But that will help you visualize sort of, if you had control within the parameters of your life, where would you put these different things? And specifically in this context, because we're talking about making time, where would you put this new project, the new action that you need to be taking, the new course you're going on, the new sessions, whatever it is. And there you can bear a few things in mind. The first one is eating the frog. And I love this. There's a book called Eat That Frog. And it's saying that the frog, if you have to eat a frog, you'd best eat it right away. I tend to do that too. Eat your veg first and then you can enjoy your lovely chocolate or whatever it is, right? So have your main course first. But the idea is that you have this new, big, monstrous project that is hugely effective. And everything else gets done. That's the magic of it. So all your emails and admin and responding to people, all the other day-to-day things that you're already sort of in a happy habit or routine, those things definitely get done anyway. So you might as well start with that big thing, which isn't going to get done. So writing a book is a prime example. Working on that business of yours, painting. I knew somebody who wanted to paint and they just decided to get up early in the morning and paint. Now, the other thing, we keep talking about starting early in the morning. The other thing to think about is, are you a morning person? Because if you are no good in the morning, or unless you have coffee and go for a run and shower and all these things, which I definitely need, then probably it won't help to listen to all these 5 a.m. miracle workers where you get up and you do these routines and so on. If your peak time is in the evening, then it might be better to plan that activity then. But if you are a morning person, maybe getting up before everyone else is up is the answer for you. Possibly you might need to go to bed a little bit earlier too. So it is about some compromises. It's not about adding things. You have to also take some things away. So think about your natural rhythm, avoiding that kind of mid-afternoon slump. Being clever with time. So maybe some things, you can listen to podcasts when you're running, or I've started now listening in the shower. You can listen in your lunch breaks. You can watch things. You can find times to fit things in here and there. So there are also sort of creative ways to get in little bits here and there. Other principles, I guess just the main thing, just make sure you're including everything on there. Leave some leeway, definitely. So when I started this, I had about 100 things per day. Surprisingly, I didn't get them all done. So actually better to have one thing per day that absolutely has to get done. Or maximum three priorities, but I'd say one is fantastic because it makes you so focused. And then if you do one thing every day, that's a lot of things. That's 7 things or 5 things, depending on if it's a working week or not. And if you do that consistently, that's going to have a huge impact. So that is your ideal week, and that is an ideal. You are never going to follow it 100%. So don't think that I'm making you follow this sort of incredible regime. If you can, and if you thrive on that kind of routine, by all means. But I think a lot of us are kind of free spirits, and I accept that an element of routine and system can really support me, give me that framework and stability that I need to create the freedom I want. But certainly you don't want to be too rigid. So I like to have some flexibility in there. And certainly you're not going to stick to 100%, so don't worry. However, if you find, and you can use Toggle again to track, the first few days and weeks and see how it goes. If you find that you're not sticking to it at all, then you have to begin to ask yourself why that is. And it shouldn't be about discipline, because if you're forcing yourself with discipline, you're never going to succeed. You're always going to give up. If I always think of brushing your teeth. So if I had to negotiate with myself every morning and every night, you've got to brush your teeth, that would be so exhausting and I wouldn't do it. But it's such a habit. A few years ago, I even started flossing every evening, and then eventually I started flossing every morning, and it's such a natural part of my routine. Boring example, I know. But, it's something that's without sort of any kind of hesitation or any negotiation needed. So as soon as something becomes a habit, this Facebook Live, for example, I really struggled with making it a regular thing. And then when I decided, no, it's going to be Wednesday nights, 8 o'clock. Of course, sometimes things get in the way, but now it's just part of my routine. And it's, I get on here, I chat to you guys, and then that's it, that's done. So adding a new thing is always going to be a bit of a sort of stumbling block, and you need that extra impetus. But certainly, look at your calendar again if it's not working. See, okay, what's getting in the way? Is your energy different to what you thought? Did you sort of underestimate the time? If you're being completely unrealistic, you might need to shift the plan in a different direction. But if you're more or less sticking to it, then you can potentially refine, but otherwise it's a great plan. But the final tip, and I'm going to steal it from Nike, is to just do it. And I have an example here, which is that I've wanted to play the piano. Well, I played the piano when I was younger. I used to just play Disney songs and musicals. I never got really good. I never played my scales and things, which my piano teacher always wanted me to. But then for years and years, I didn't play. A few years ago, I got a piano, and then for years and years, I still didn't play. And I've put it on my bucket list and my to-do list and my ideal week, and it's always been on there. And I just didn't do it. And it's only very recently that I've literally just started to do it. So I have sat down and I've played the piano. So in the afternoon, I was waiting for my dad one day, and I had, 10 minutes to spare, sat down, played a bit of piano. I've taken a break from work and I've gone to get something. I walk past the piano. I'll just play a bit of memory or something. And it's so lovely. It's I'm actually playing now 5-10 minutes a day, and it's not, it's not a huge chunk of time. I'm certainly not yet at the point, they say that you need 10,000 hours to become a master at something. I'm definitely not confident enough to play in front of anyone yet, but I'm enjoying the process. And, done is better than perfect, as they say. Small steps, I always talk about, not leaps. So rather than planning, 2 hours a day of working on this business, actually literally just whenever you have a minute here and there to spare, you can carve that time out. So for all the planning and analysis and all these tips and ideas and the ideal week and Toggle and all these things, at the end of the day, just do it. And that's why I'm always talking about taking this one step, because it's really through taking action that you're going to create that momentum, that you're going to build your confidence, that you're going to find out what works, and you're going to enjoy it, hopefully, and that's going to make you want to continue forwards. So just a few ideas. I'd love to hear, you know, the challenges that you guys are facing in terms of your productivity, managing your time. Lots more to be said around this topic, I imagine, and I have a lot more to say, definitely. And certainly I continue to learn myself. But some ideas around, you know, structuring your week, seeing where you can potentially take some things off, because it's not about just adding things on. And just like, I don't know, a closet, you know, wardrobe, you don't want to just be buying new clothes. You have to have that kind of one in, one out system. It's the same thing with projects. One other idea, by the way, in terms of the ideal week and the general approach here, is something I learned years ago, which was around the big rocks. Which is that you have a certain number of things you can do in your life. And the example this senior director gave way back in the day was, and I'm sure I'm bastardizing his story, so I apologize, Jim, but he said he was a husband, a brother, a son, a golf player, and you know, an executive, a marketing executive, let's say. And then his child was born. And he realised every weekend that he'd go off and play golf all day Saturday, all day Sunday. And he realised he had no time to spend with his wife and his child. And he realised one of those 5 roles had to go. And he decided then, to his credits, at least so the story goes, to give up that golf temporarily and to be the father. So that new big rock was being the father. So it's hard to sort of put your roles and your tasks into such sort of stark black and white roles in a way, but it's just, the idea is that you can't do all these things, right? You can't be an employee and a mother and maybe a daughter to a sick mother, whatever the other things are. All the other, maybe you're a volunteer in your child's school, you're a partner, of course, and so on. I'm already getting to, you know, more than 5 roles. If you're then also going to be a business owner, that is going to be a tough thing. So it's just to say again, as I like to remind you, to be compassionate with yourself and be kind. And maybe, just maybe, you do not have time right now, and that is absolutely fine. Don't park it forever. Don't forget about it, but just put it over there in the corner. Get on with your life. Get back up to speed. And you know, there are times in our life where there's just too much, and we're sort of drowning, trying to keep our heads above the water, treading water, and that's probably not the time to start a new project. So another thing, I suppose, is to get your health in order, right? So if you're feeling that really low energy, if you're not sleeping, if you're stressed, nearing burnout at work, then for all the fulfillment and meaning a new business can give you, I don't think that's the right time for you to do that. So, you know, maybe press the pause button a little bit there. Take care of yourself, you know, do whatever you need to do to get your health back in order and to feel good about yourself, and then you can, you know, put more focus on the business. And that applies as well if you have an existing business. I am going to be talking a lot more to you guys. I know there's a lot of you who are further along in the business and you know, looking to grow that business, but it applies to all of us as well, if not more so, because it's so easy to constantly raise that bar and to add more things. I need to do Facebook Live, and I need to do a podcast and my book and my group program, and constantly adding things to our list, right? And it's just, all of that is not adding value, and we certainly don't need to do it all at the same time. So we need to be super focused and make choices around what's actually going to grow the business, and also remember what is ultimately important, which I think most of us will agree is our family, our friends, our health, and so on. So just reminding ourselves that sometimes as well, and being okay with that blog post maybe being a day late or something like that. So hopefully that's given you a bit of food for thought. Again, do please comment and share your challenges that you're facing. We'll do lots more content, I think, in this area going forwards. And as I said, also some more specific business strategy and brand building work and client stuff and so on, and selling going forwards to help you guys who are a bit further along in your businesses as well. But I think this idea of carving out the time, whether it's for starting or growing a business, whether it's for adding some new hobby, or exercising, looking after yourself, whatever it is, I think the principles are all the same. So I hope you enjoy tracking your activity with Toggle. I hope you enjoy creating your ideal week if you haven't already done that. And I'd love to hear how you get on. And then I will see you next week, Wednesday, 8 o'clock UK time, in the Facebook group here. I'll be back live, and I'm sure I will hopefully interact with you and